Hello again, BookTube. My name is Daniel and welcome back to my channel. Guilty feet, I've got no rhythm. And today I thought I'd give you an update on what's going on in my reading life. I have a couple of recommendations and then the books that I've been reading the last couple of weeks. I didn't do it Friday Reads last week, so I have 2 weeks worth of books. So first of all, I'm filming this Thursday evening and hopefully it'll go up Friday. I was supposed to be flying, originally I was supposed to be flying to London tonight, but then that flight got cancelled by the airline, so I moved it to Sunday, 3 days from now, and I was still going to be coming back a week from today, so instead of going for a week I was going to go for 4 days, but I was getting terribly stressed about that because next weekend is Passover, and if I didn't get back for Passover that could have been deleterious to my marriage, and being in London for 4 days was freaking me out because even though I'm fully vaccinated I still have to quarantine there, which was fine, except you also have to pay something like $300, £210 to order a test. They won't let you fly unless you can prove that you've paid for these tests, which you have to take on the 2nd and the 8th day of your stay, even though I was only going for 4 days, and there was concern about whether they'd be able to get the test from me, and therefore I wouldn't be able to. It was all a bit too much and a bit too stressful, so I have postponed my flight for about 3 weeks, planning to go in the middle of April. The downside of that is I don't have, we're still going away the week of Passover. I'm taking off, and my wife and I are going away up north to a lovely little spa hotel where I tend to do 3 days of solid reading by the pool if the weather's good, or the indoor pool if the weather's bad, and I don't have any new books. So I went to the mall. Our malls have opened. I went for the first time to a mall, everything was open, and I'm going to put in some video. I think I have some footage I visited 2 bookshops in the mall, and you'll see them. I guess I'll put them in now. And but spoiler, I came away with nothing. They didn't have anything. I didn't see anything there that was new, sort of published in the last 3 or 4 months. You know, some of these things that you usually get they usually get them in sort of relatively recent stuff, and often it's like these airport editions, so it'll be like hardback size but paperback copies. But can often be quite up to date. But there was nothing new. I don't know if it's because they haven't had anything new coming in while all the shops were closed, or if there's going to be more stuff coming in this week. But I didn't really find anything that was like, if it had Piranesi or Lust or something like that I might have picked up and paid full price just to have it with me here. But I think the most recent thing they had was they had David Mitchell's Utopia Avenue, which I've already read, and 1 or 2 other things. Nothing really jumped out at me, so that was a bit disappointing, and I'll put those videos in now. and so I'm still going in 3 weeks, but I'm really going to be down to the ends of my TBR, which is quite good. I've had stuff that's sitting there, it's there, I need to read it, and so I'm going to take it away with me, and hopefully plough through a couple of the big chunky novels that I've had sitting there, maybe even a Dickens or another Trollope I'll take with me, just to have something meaty to read, because in those 3 days I will do probably 6 to 8 hours of reading every day by the pool while I'm there, so it's a chance to get a lot done. So what else I want to say? Yes, 2 recommendations. One is for a video that you cannot see, and the other is going to be for a BookTube channel with over 200,000 subscribers. So slightly weird recommendations. The first, I just wanted to talk about a video that a book review that was put up by The Font, which is usually Barb and daughter Isabella behind the camera, and in this particular video, if I remember correctly, it was Barb and her son, whose name I've forgotten, and I can't go back and check because the video is no longer there. But I wanted to talk about it because Barb did a review of one book of work of fiction and compared it and spoke about it in conversation with a work of non-fiction. The book of fiction was the translated, it's called The Discomfort of Evening by Marieke Lucas Reinveld, the Dutch non-binary author, and I don't remember the name of the non-fiction book, but she did what I believe was the smartest and just one of the best book reviews I've seen since I've been watching BookTube. It was so smart and thoughtful, and interlinking these 2 works to talk about her reaction to the fiction, and then what it taught her about aspects of toxic shame, and then there was a work of non-fiction which addressed these kind of feelings very directly, and how these were in conversation with each other and interrelated, and it was just a fantastic piece of work that really was the best, in my experience, the best of what this community has to offer. And then I saw this week that there was a video where Barb explained that there'd been she'd felt there was some negative reaction, that there'd been some people had unsubscribed, and to the extent that she felt she should take the video down. And I just wanted to say that I saw the video, I saw the work that was put into it. It was a really fine piece of book reviewing, and I wanted to express my admiration for it and thank you, and I was sorry to see it taken down, and I respect all choices. Put it up, take it down, whatever makes you whatever you do, what you feel you should do. But having seen the video, it was one of the finest book reviews I've seen in this little world. And now so thank you to The Font. The channel that I want to recommend is most unusual. I believe that it is always everyone's job to recommend channels with fewer viewers than they have, and there's a increasingly, a far smaller number of channels with fewer viewers than I have for me to recommend, but I would do my best to carry on and watch them, watch their subscriber numbers fly by mine. But I'm going to recommend a channel on BookTube with over 200,000 subscribers. I first came across the person behind this channel, I guess about 15 years ago. She had, I mean, it's probably unfair to call it a one-hit wonder, but a successful song on the popular music charts, and it was a kind of, in the era of Destiny's Child, before Beyonce went out on her own. It had that kind of staccato Destiny's Child, R&B, just smart, syncopated rhythm to it. It was a song called One Thing, and the artist, his name was spelt Amerie, and it's possible that I never heard it said out loud, and in my head, if you'd asked me who had the hit with the song One Thing, I would have said Amerie or Amerie. Anyway, jump forward 15 years, and she has a YouTube channel with over 200,000 subscribers. It turns out that her name is, and clearly has always been, Amory, which is, you know, makes much more sense. A-M-E-R-I-E. I don't know why I ever thought it was Amory, but Amory. And she is kind of a proud champion for BookTube. And the reason I'm recommending this channel is that if you go and have a look at the last video she did, first of all, it was 45 minutes long, and as somebody who over talks way too long about books, I can appreciate someone who could not, however hard she tried, stop herself talking for 45 minutes about books with enthusiasm, with authenticity, and she's sitting surrounded by, behind her are clearly her real bookshelves, and she talks about a book, she said, I've read something else, and she points to something on the shelf. This was a real booktuber. Now, I don't know, you know, that what a terrible thing to describe someone as, but the sense that at a certain level of fame, at a certain level of viewership, that someone should be less authentic and less real about this hobby that we all love of reading and of discovering new books and of trying things. The books that she spoke about, many of them not necessarily things I'm interested in. Some fantasy and some YA that we see sometimes on bigger channels, but this was she is absolutely a genuine enthusiast. I've subscribed to her channel because there was just real joy, exactly the same feeling that I get watching anyone in this corner of BookTube focusing on something little, or just expressing love of something and marveling at the joy of reading. Absolutely present there in a way that I don't necessarily see in, say, some of the other celebrity booktubers. And she has a Patreon, so there's I'm no interest necessarily in paying money to see more content. I'm not, you know, not jumping on that bandwagon, but this video alone was enough to make me want to subscribe. So I'm going to put a link to Amory's most recent video for BookTube. Okay, let's talk about the books I read. I didn't do a Friday Reads last week, so basically this is the last 2 weeks of reading, and it isn't a lot. I've been rather slow. I had a slow couple of weekends, so I've got 3 books here that I finished and 1 that I've started. So at the end, my last Friday Reads, I had just started Spring Torrents by Ivan Turgenev. This guy. So this is a movie tie-in cover. Who knew there was a movie of Spring Torrents? I only read one other book by Turgenev, which was a good 30 years ago. I read Fathers and Sons. I remember not a whole lot. Bazarov, is that the name of the character? I don't remember a whole lot about Fathers and Sons. And I must have read somewhere, you know, I've been on a Tolstoy kick the last few years, getting a Tolstoy, and so and I read a bit of Pushkin and some Chekhov short stories, and Turgenev came back up again and said, oh, this was so I picked this up. It's a short novel, so the novel itself is under 200 pages. This is a Penguin edition with, so it's translated and introduced by Leonard Shapiro, but this is a translation from some years ago, I'm guessing, you know, 30, 40 years ago. And this was an odd little book. So the first half, it starts with a wonderful love story, a Russian man who finds himself in Frankfurt, where he falls in love with an Italian young lady, and there's a meet cute, and she has a little brother who thinks our Russian protagonist Sanin is you know, terribly wonderful, and there are servants, and there's a mother who wants her daughter to marry well, and just all terribly romantic and quite lovely. And then in the middle, the book takes a left turn somewhere, and our romantic hero he behaves in ways that are quite, you know, unexpected. And I don't want to say any more than that, because you know, even signalling that there's a sort of change in the middle is probably a bit of a spoiler, but it threw me for a loop a little bit. And the book's short enough that isn't, you know, there was no abandoning it, and it wasn't bad. It was just a little unexpected and sad. But the first half was so marvellous that I went with it when the mood changed, and it becomes rather a melancholy tale of remembering things that have passed and things that could have been. So yeah, that's Spring Torrents, yeah, I like that. 200 pages, well worth your time if you like the odd Russian. After that, I read the first of the books that I picked up in a haul that I posted a week or two ago. So this is Less by Andrew Sean Greer. This won the Pulitzer Prize a couple of years ago. This was this was billed as a kind of comic novel, which automatically sort of gets my hackles up and makes me a little nervous. I'm not a big fan of comic novels. I'm not a big fan of broad comedy. I mean, it makes sense to me. I love a laugh. If I have a choice going to a movie to see an action movie or a drama over a comedy, I'll probably put a comedy at the bottom, even though I've seen some great comedies. I love, Annie Hall. I love good Steve Martin. I love, but I just really, it's not my favourite thing, and book even less so. So I was a little concerned going to this. It's not a broadly comic novel. It's a story about a man turning 50 whose lover is now getting married to someone else, his former lover, and so he's invited to the wedding, and to avoid the whole business of having the humiliation of having to attend his ex-lover's wedding to someone else and turning 50, and slowly seeing himself drift into insignificance and old age. He's a rather vain man. Less is his name, by the way, Arthur Less. He decides that he will book a whole series of events that will take him around the world. He's a novelist of some small repute, and it's just enough to be able to book appearances or some teaching work abroad, and he goes and has a series of different stays in this trip to avoid showing up at this wedding. It's kind of lovely. There are some sort of comedy set pieces and absurd moments, and things happen which, he's made into a bit of a fool at times, and partly by his own vanity and partly by circumstance. But he's not, at no point is he really a figure of ridicule. He's not the butt of our jokes. He's a foolish person occasionally, in a way that we're all foolish and a little self-deluded sometimes. But actually our affection for Arthur Less grows stronger as the book carries on, and as he sort of his luck never really comes in, and he never really achieves any kind of happiness or crowning moment. There are some small wins all the way through, and some romance as he moves in the different parts of the world. He's by all accounts, a handsome, well-kept man on the cusp of turning 50, and so some good things are due to him, and he is loved and he is admired, and it takes him time to realise that and appreciate the things that he has in his life, and it came together in quite a lovely way. So by the end, I think I was properly fond of Arthur Less, and wished good things for him, and I think the others in his life, in his fictional life, did too. So I quite enjoyed that, and I think I'm enjoying it more as I'm remembering it, where I was a little nervous going into it. But that's Less by Andrew Sean Greer. It's not a laugh out loud. It's not trying to make you laugh out loud. It's wry, and it's funny, and it's kind of sweet, which I guess is a little out of fashion. I hope it doesn't put people off saying it's a sweet book, but it is quite a sweet book. After that, another comic collection. You're used to seeing these. This is volume 3 of Starman. So this is James Robinson. This is called volume 3 is A Wicked Inclination. Starman was a sort of golden age character for DC. So in the first round of superheroes, part of what was called the Justice Society of America, which predates, it's like the Second World War version, and then later became the Justice League of America. There was a character called Starman back then, and this is a modern day version of that. So the original Starman was Ted Knight, and now this Starman that you can just see here with the crazy goggles is his son, Jack Knight. These came out, I think, 20 odd years ago, and I sort of ignored the series as it was being published. And now I've gone back and started reading these collections, and they're hard to find. So I have this is the third. I have the fourth one waiting in London, and then there's another 4 or 5 of them, 5 through 9 or something, are hard to find at reasonable prices. But I kind of enjoyed this, and this was, I guess if it's not your cup of tea, there's not much point in explaining it. But he hooks up with the original Sandman, which is not the Neil Gaiman sort of phantasmagorical Sandman. This is Wesley Dodds, who was an actual human character called the Sandman, who put people to sleep and solved crimes. And so this is young Jack Knight teaming up with old Wesley Dodds, and a pretty sort of old-fashioned, solid crime. And then there's also some weird stuff about a poster that a demon comes out of and takes you to hell. So yeah, it's a mixed bag, but actually kind of fun. So I enjoyed that. Thank you. And then the thing that I've started that I will read this weekend was the second of the 4 books that I got in that haul in the second-hand bookshop locally. Another Movie Time cover, and this is If Beale Street Could Talk. If you saw it in the last haul, it had that ugly coffee stain which just came off with a tissue. So I've started this, and Baldwin is just a lovely prose stylist. So it's another short one. I'll get through that this weekend and let you know how it goes. And that's all I've got for you today. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.